Nico Iamaleava is set to start the bowl game for your Tennessee Vols against Iowa. And I opened the show saying Merry Christmas to Vol fans because this was probably what you wanted. And that's not to say anything negative about Joe Milton. Joe Milton, I think, filled the gap pretty well for you between the Hendon Hooker era and what will be the Nico Iamaleava era. But with that being said, Nico has some stuff, man, that you just can't teach. 6'6", 206 pounds, was the #1 player in the class of 2023 for us here at On3. Dude is a baller, all right? And so you know what it was with Joe Milton playing quarterback for you. He's going to sit out the bowl game. So now Nico is going to start the bowl game for you. And when I say you know what it was, you saw what the offense could do. You got a full season of it. Wasn't bad, but you know by nature of what Hendon Hooker brought to the table, when you have someone who can be consistent throwing the ball downfield and can be efficient in the intermediate game, this thing can really hum now. This thing can start to compound. So, one, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. We appreciate y'all for that. If you're watching this video in a one-off cut, we appreciate y'all being dialed in. Again, make sure you're subscribed. Tennessee fans, this is exciting for y'all now. So make sure you're dialed in. We got a lot to talk about leading up and through this bowl game, quite frankly, with the Nico era beginning. So the good news for Nico, if you score 15 points, you might win this football game. The bad news, you face one of the most tough defenses in the entire country when it comes to the Iowa Hawkeyes. So how should we assess this first start for Nico Iamaleava? 5-star cat, again, #1 player in the country in 2023. There's a ton of expectations on this kid. There's expectations for him to be the next Peyton Manning in Knoxville. And I say that with a little bit of hyperbole baked in there, but I don't think there's that much because that's kind of expectations on this kid right now. So when I say how should we assess this, you should assess it the same way you would for any other starting quarterback. Understand now, this is a bowl game for this guy. He's going to have a little bit of prep time. He's been getting good reps during the season. But it's also not a conference game against SEC opponent, and it's not a away or a home site, neutral field. So when we talk about what we should expect from him, going back to what I just said, you expect from him what you would expect any other starting quarterback. There's probably going to be some really good plays, probably going to be some learning moments. But what I want to make sure we say is you don't define Nico Iamaleava by this start. You learn a lot. You take what you can from what he does in this game. But I wouldn't focus too much on what he doesn't do well. What I would focus on, how I would watch the start from a Tennessee fan, I would focus on the flash plays. And when I say the flash plays, I mean stuff that you say, oh, okay, that's why he was the #1 player in the country last cycle. Okay, he can make that field throw from the left hash all the way to the deep out. I mean, that's an NFL kind of throw. Okay, we can build upon that because that's exactly what this game is. It's a starting point. It's not the end-all, be-all. It's a starting point for where Nico is going to go in his career at Tennessee. So you focus on what you can build on in those flash plays. I think maybe even more importantly, you focus on how he responds to the negative plays. If he does end up throwing an interception in this game, Iowa, they're pretty good at turning teams over. If he does have a negative play like that, how does he respond? How's his body language? How's his composure? Because he's had now some time to watch Joe Milton and see his response mechanism. And I think, to be quite honest with you, I think Joe Milton has put a tremendous example forward for young Nico and what he's going to be here. And I think that shows just the maturity level of Joe Milton. I think it shows the opportunity now for what Nico was able to learn having sat the entire season behind Joe Milton. Because Tennessee fans, like I said, this is something you've been chomping at the bit for a while. This is something that I would be excited about as well from a Tennessee fan. But on top of this now, it's not going to be all on Nico Iamaleava, especially not in his first start. Like maybe as you give him some more range of motion with this offense next season, he'll be able to kind of have a little bit more control. But like in this game, make no mistake about it, you need to support him effectively. As much as you want to see him uncork the deep ball and you know have shades of Hendon Hooker and see things like that, like you still need to be able to run the football effectively and take some pressure off of him. Because as talented as he is, if you make him win the football game for you, that's not what you want to ask him to do in his very first start. Still a big stage, still national television, still the biggest football game he will have played in his young career. Now, I want to make sure we get this out there too. This is extremely important. Good or bad from young Nico in this football game, we need to be very, very careful to not fall victim to bowl syndrome. And what I mean by that is this is one data point. It's also our last data point before we head into the horrible thing that is winter and spring when it comes to the college football landscape. It's horrible because we don't get games. But whatever he does in this game, people will analyze it to the nth degree. They will break it down. They will put it under a microscope and give you every single thought under the sun and extrapolate as much as possible from this one game. I'm telling you, there's some value in analyzing the good and the bad from this game, but there's not a ton of value in making a definitive statement, again, on what he's going to be long-term at Tennessee. Because some people, if he goes, let's say 10 for 20, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, people will say, he's mid, he's overrated, he's this, he's that. No, maybe he's just a true freshman making his first start. Now, to the exact same token, he goes out there and throws 4 touchdowns and throws for 300 yards passing and is nearly perfect when it comes to his completion percentage. That's awesome. Let's build on that. But that doesn't mean that's who he is for the entirety of his career. It's going to be like any other story in college football. If you're a college football player, your growth isn't linear. Success isn't linear. Going to be some good days, going to be some bad days. How you respond and build on those days is what will define Nico, not his first start in this bowl game. So be excited, enjoy it. Again, don't take too much from it. But for the good folks in Knoxville, like I said, you've been waiting for this one for a while. Number 8 is going to start at quarterback for you. And just the potential of what he can be in Knoxville, again, is what's exciting for you. He's got all the tools in the tool chest. He's got everything that you need to be successful as a quarterback. He can push it downfield. He's accurate. He's a great athlete. Dude could have gone and played volleyball at a really high level if he had wanted to. He's got that it factor. He's got that special factor to him. Just enjoy watching his journey. So like I said, Christmas came just a little bit late for the good folks in Knoxville, but nonetheless, the Nico era has begun. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.